Hello, I'm MCPE, and I was recently working on a video about water physics and how to abuse them as the aquatic update for Minecraft. This is something where, water is obviously one of the weirdest features in Minecraft, and it got even weirder as of the aquatic update, and I was going to make a whole video showing off weird, counterintuitive ways to use it. And although that video will probably take a lot of extra time, because I want to make sure I get it right, and want to make sure that I show off even cooler stuff than just things like this, one of the things I decided to do while I was still working on the video was to check that all of the things I was going to mention actually worked on both Bedrock and Java. Usually the two platforms try to follow the same system, and they've said before many times they want Bedrock and Java to have all of the same pretty much features from one version to the other. However, there's quite a few huge differences between how water works on one version to the other, and it allows for some cool things to be done only on Bedrock and for some cool things to be done only on the Java edition. And I figured, given that there are weird fractures in the development, I would show off all of those fractures and how they do work in today's video. So hopefully you do enjoy this one. You can like it if you do like it, because it helps out the channel a lot, and lets know that maybe you like this sort of thing, showing off the differences between Java and Bedrock, and maybe I think maybe you'll like it, maybe you won't. But either way, maybe the heat death of the universe occurs, and we don't have to go through this whole conversation. But with that said, let's get straight into it, shall we? And let's start by talking about the Java version, which has one of my favorite differences to do with the coral fans. So coral fans were added later on the Java edition, and interestingly enough, they're actually added better in the Java version. So obviously, my favorite thing, this works on both platforms, but it's just a it's a small thing I should mention. Coral fans can be placed on the side of blocks, but they can also be placed on the bottom of a block, just like this. So that's nice. Obviously, again, both versions, but it's nice. The thing about Minecraft on the Java is you can place the side coral fans above the water. So as long as the side of the coral fan is just next to the water, so you can see it's basically the same block, but it's next to it, then it still counts as getting water, and the coral fans won't die. Or at least these coral fans don't seem to be dying, and it doesn't seem to die anywhere else. What I'm saying here is coral fans won't die if they're next to water on the side of the block, which means you can kind of have it like grow out of the water in its own interesting kind of funny way. I like it personally, but also the other thing that's way better, because this is nice by itself, like maybe this has a use, just to quickly, we'll show later that it doesn't work on Bedrock, because the interesting thing is that if we now go to the coral fan placed on the bottom of a block, the one you care about, let's be honest, like being able to do cool stuff like this is the reason coral fan is actually has any value at all in Minecraft. But the interesting thing about this bottom coral fan is you can place it on top of a half slab if that half slab has water underneath it. And again, if you just look at this on the flesh, it just looks like you've placed coral fans in the middle of nowhere. But no, you can't just place them literally anywhere. You can place them anywhere where there's one of these blocks right here. Otherwise, they will die. And as you can see, one of the best examples is to place them on sand beaches. Put a bit of sandstone down there. You won't notice the difference because it's mostly covered in the coral. And then you have an eternal life of coral, which is really quite a wonderful thing in my opinion, because in case you're curious what it looks like down there, it's just a full block of water, you put a half slab on the top, and then you place your coral block, and it lives forever. I love this because it allows you to kind of hide coral blocks underneath, but for some reason on the Bedrock version of the game, again, this is the one found on your Windows 10 as well as your, your Xbox, your Switch, your Pocket Edition devices. If we do the exact same thing, to show you both of these versions, so here is me placing a coral fan on the side of a block. You can probably, oh wait, actually, that's not a fair comparison. This is a fair comparison. It dies instantly. It's not that it dies after some amount of time. It's like, no, you place it below the water where it can live, or you place it above the water where it's dead on arrival, it just stops existing, which is pretty wild by itself, right? Like the fact that you can't even place it stuff like there, instantly dead. It has to be literally inside the water if you want it to survive, but you also can't do the same half slab trick. I really love this half slab trick, so it's a shame, but even if we do the exact same thing right here where we're like, okay, we'll cover the top of these blocks with some half slabs so that we can't see the water underneath there, then we'll place the coral fan on top of it, and oh, instantly dead in arrival, and even just vanished itself right there, which is pretty wild, right? So yeah, I don't like this personally. I like the Java version a lot better here. There's a few other weird situations for this, but we'll get into later. But basically, yeah, coral fans much better on Java. However, to now kind of take the opposite opinion, here's something rather interesting that you can do only on Bedrock. So I'm going to show you on Java first because it's a interesting change they made since the snapshots you might not be aware of. Basically, if you if we break any of these half slabs right here, water can flow out, because water that's contained within a quarter of a block or a half of a block can only flow in the directions, it can only flow if it's flowing into solid blocks. You can't have water flow from half slab to half slab. You can place water on the other half slabs, but you can't have it flow onto that. The reason that's important is because if we have this block right here, if we place the staircase the other way around, the water can flow off the staircase. However, they've changed this since the very earliest versions, where if there's no physical way for the water to get out, like this, again, this is basically a solid block, you can place the, the stairs just like that, and rather interestingly, it will work like that. So this isn't the shocking feature. The shocking feature is the fact that if we then remove the staircase, then the water will flow, because the water can now escape, and it's going to fill up that cave, which is going to be a nightmare. But that's not my problem right now. What is my problem is the fact that if we try the exact same thing on the Bedrock edition, what will happen to us is, so again, we've got the exact same thing here. We'll place the staircase. I already showed you at the start of the video, but we can place the staircase the other way. It won't flow off. We can place the staircase this way. Won't flow off. But when we remove the staircase and we have a solid block, we can have still non-floating water, which is really quite an odd thing. Obviously, if you break one of the blocks around it, it will suddenly go away and the thing will have to be done again. But the fact that you can have water which doesn't flow in a direction because of this little staircase trick, I think is really quite odd. So to show you that again, here's removing the water source flow, here's removing the block, and there we go, it floats still. I think that's because of a difference in how the staircase is treated. Maybe it's a glitch, maybe it's intentional, but it is quite a wonderful thing. Show you just in the middle of nowhere to prove this is in fact a thing that happens from scratch. So here's a block of water, flows in all the directions. Then we remove stuff there, and there, and now it can't flow in any direction. Now we place the staircase there, it can flow in this direction, but now we place the staircase the other way, and what do you know, we end up with an entirely solid block. And I feel like you can use this in a variety of different ways. Maybe if you placed it in all different directions at once, you could do something really odd with that. Like maybe if we go like, again, I'm not sure if this will work, I'm trying this on spot. Then I remove that block right there. Okay, it flows from at least one direction, but still, the fact that we can do that, as little sense as any of this is making, by the way, is kind of wonderful, and it can't be done in the Java version. So, speaking of things that can't be done in the Java version, I should also mention that if you have a quarter block, or even less, because you can use ridiculously tiny versions of water in Minecraft Bedrock. If we have this amount of water, seriously, look at the amount of water this is, we can swim in this still. If you look in third person, as we run across here, can you see how I temporarily activate the swim? Because there's no limit to the size of water. Oh, by the way, the half stabs are crazy glitchy in Bedrock, but I'm assuming this is a glitch. Again, let's try not to hold it against the game right now. But yeah, you can actually swim through any amount of water, one block, one half block, one quarter block, pick an amount of water, you can have it flow through there, which is wonderful. I mean, maybe not wonderful, depending on your worldview. So I'll just show you right here, even with a half slab, you can just, oh, in this case it actually didn't, oh, there we go, it did work there. So, as you can see, if you look at the top left, or if you just see me in third person, you can swim in any amount of water. However, going back to the Java version, you can see how it's not actually possible here. Even if we have, so I'll place the staircase over here this time. This is a roughly full block of water, and I believe it just about works if you go all the way into it. But you can see how I sprint past this, and even though it's a full block, I'm having issues with it. And especially if we make that block even smaller, which we'll do right now, just for the fun of it, we have this tiny of a block. Look at the size of this thing, and we try to run through it. All it does is slow you down. You can still use water as an effective slowing tool here, because sprinting is faster than swimming is faster than sprinting, but being slow is definitely slower than sprinting, so you still have to avoid water on Java, but if you're playing the exact same thing on Bedrock, that's not the case. So the final one here is a really cool thing for, again, it's kind of like a combination of this like stair glitch and the way stairs are considered in Bedrock and how they're considered in Java, because if we use the coral fans, you can also place them on the back of blocks, on the back of a stair block, and because there's water over here, it applies to over there. Again, that weird one block rule allows you to have coral that grows effectively on the side of a wall. Like this could be a wall for all that we know. Like look at this. Like, can you tell this isn't a wall? You can't. You can have water hidden on the other side of a wall in the Java version, and again, you don't know if it's going to die or not until we'll place some extra blocks here. You don't know if your thing's going to die or not until you place it, and maybe there's water behind there. Maybe this is good for some puzzle. Maybe it is. The fact that you can't do this, going back to the Bedrock version, the fact that you can't do it over here is kind of an odd one. So again, to show you the key difference here, if I tried to take the exact same upside down staircase, and we're like, let's try and place some tube coral fans. Can't do it. Can't be placed at all. Try to place one next to it, instantly dead in arrival again. So yeah, there's just a really odd difference about this version, that version. It's worth mentioning, one of my favorite tricks you can do in Bedrock and Java, both of them, you can place, even if there's only a quarter bit of, you know, obviously water down there, you can still place coral above it, and the coral will stay alive, sustained by that. It's just coral fans follow different rules on each version, and I think that's a shame personally, because I like coral fans. I think they're wonderful, and I think that I'd love to see more harmonization. Because on the one hand, it's nice that both the Java and the Bedrock developers have decided, oh yeah, we'll work on something different if we think it's better. But then either like have no pretense and just like work on vaguely the same updates, like it seems like they're doing, or actually, you know, synchronize the game. Because otherwise people get very confused when they try something they know on Bedrock in Java. Because I mean, obviously, there's you know, something kind of key. Like for instance, if we load up the creative menu here and we load the creative menu on Java, like of course things like this are going to be different. You look at the two versions, you can see how the creative menu is wildly different, right? So This is Bedrock, this is Java, just in case you haven't noticed that the whole video. But a few things, like your inventory is visible while using the creative inventory in Bedrock, sorry, in Java, even though it's visible there. You can see it also down there. Whereas on Bedrock, to keep you focused on the main creative inventory, it's only shown down there at the bottom. It's just odd differences like that. Like either we should admit they're good things and that it's fine to have different versions that loosely follow the same thing, or we should admit that like we need to harmonize over time at least the features so people don't get confused, because people won't get confused by creative inventory difference. But the fact that coral fans, like a really cool block on Java, can't really be used in any cool ways besides like, I can make a Sweden flag at the bottom of the ocean here still, but you can't do as many things with tube fans, and over time you can imagine how that's just going to build up and build up. And yeah, that's just my little 2 cents at the end of the video here. I personally am of the opinion that you should either have similar enough products, or you shouldn't say they're the same thing. But that's just my opinion, I'm just an internet cat. Let me know your thoughts in the comments down below, and I hope... Oh, by the way, just in case you're curious as to small amounts of water, I've made a whole video on this, so I'm not going to go too far into it, but you can have corner stairs that are, like, crazy tiny, and you can have that much water. You can still sprint in that much water. Oh, oops. You can still sprint in that much water, though, if you do it just right, which I think is just a wonderful thing. This is an amount of water that can keep you technically in water, technically swimming, and it's wonderful. It's a beautiful thing about Bedrock. Whereas on Java, you get better coral fans. The fact that this isn't consistent is my point. And yeah, I like consistency. And that's why, oh, look at this, plug toy cat time. And that's why I upload twice a day on my YouTube channel. Maybe you should check it out, youtube.com/ibxtoycat. In fact, you're already there. Why not turn on notifications and check out another video? Because I've uploaded like 4,500 at this point. And maybe one of them has your particular needs. Go watch the one about abusing water. It seems like it's going to be a really mean one, but really the water enjoys it too, so it's not abuse. It's like, whatever's that. Hope you all enjoy the video, and I'll see you all next time. Goodbye.